Chair will call the May 21st, 2019 special meeting of the City Council to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Clerk, if you please call the roll.
Will do. Alderman Ritpath.
Here.
Alderman Senor.
Here.
Alderwoman Turner.
Thank you.
Here.
Alderman Fulgenzi.
Here.
Alderman Proctor.
Here.
Alderwoman DeCenso.
Present.
Alderman McMiniman.
Here.
Alderman Tylen.
Here.
Alderman Donnelly. Here. Alderman Hanauer.
Here.
Mayor Langfelder.
Here.
Mr. Mayor, a quorum is present.
Thank you. The item on the agenda is with regards to the election challenge for Ward 2. And in order that Corporation Council will go over with regards to a full recount, as also the seating of the certified candidate and having a special meeting on June 4th. So would you like to go over those parameters first?
Certainly. You may recall that with the recent municipal elections, that the law provides for the opportunity for both discovery recount and then also a election petition challenge of the results. The city clerk did receive a election challenge petition on Friday, and the attorneys representing both respondent and petitioner are present tonight. There have been discussions with them just to start this process, and the parties, respondent and petitioner, have agreed that a full recount should occur. Parties have discussed it. They think the petition was sufficient to justify that. The parties have also agreed that the certified candidate is entitled to be sworn in subject to the full recount, meaning that whatever the final result of the recount is, then that would be either affirming the certified candidate or a different person based on what the recount shows. And the parties also agreed with the mayor's concurrence, of course, that there would be a special council meeting at 5 o'clock. That's the next council meeting, but at 5 o'clock, 2 weeks from today, and that would be to review and approve the rules and procedures and actually set the date for the recount. So this is kind of what you would call, I think, kind of the preliminary step, keeping in mind that it was just filed Friday afternoon, and this moves that process along pretty rapidly. And I think the parties, the attorneys for the parties have been very helpful in terms of the discussions that took place to try to get some agreement going forward on how we're proceeding. So the action of the council tonight would be limited to just approving the agreed order, and then on June 4th there would be action to establish both how the recount would occur and the dates when that would happen. So that would be the next steps. And both council are here, so if there are questions, I believe I'm being very, in a summary way, very correct in what our discussions have been. So if there's any other questions or otherwise, but this is what the parties have stipulated to trying to move it forward.
We did have H. Allen Yao signed up to speak on behalf of Gail Simpson. So if you'd like to come forward, and we'll open it up for discussion.
Mayor, thank you so much. Given the invitation of the council, I don't know who's ready to make any remarks.
Okay.
And Mr.
Alderman Hanauer.
Yeah. Do we have to wait 2 weeks to set the parameters, or I mean, is there a reason why we're holding off 2 weeks, or I mean,
just because
we could have a special council meeting before the next committee of the whole meeting?
Well, because of the holidays and people being gone with Memorial Day, it was just trying to give all the parties sufficient time to participate and not create an instance where they didn't feel they had enough time to have input on the process.
Okay. Thank you.
It was meant to be for fairness, letting both sides have adequate time to look at it and make comment.
Alderman Donlin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Counselor, who will be drafting the rules and the procedure, and will we have time before the June 4th meeting as a council to review those?
Yes. And I will put together a draft, but it'll be based on both what's been used in other instances where recounts have occurred, so there's some precedent, and what the legislature does, because they have some rules relating to, contests. And so there will be an opportunity to present that, and also for the attorneys for each party to advise if they would like to see any changes or they don't feel it addresses everything.
Thank you. I think this is important. Appreciate it.
Alderman Redpath.
So Corporation Counsel, if we seat Ms. Simpson to the seat, she'll be here for the next meeting she'll have to exclude herself from the vote. Is that correct?
That is correct. The parties all agree that the individual office holder who's the subject of a recount process cannot participate. You may remember, just going back a little bit, in the case of like Alderman Vos, and there was a challenger, I think Linda Morris, and there was a one-vote difference, and in that case, Alderman Vos, who was an incumbent at the time, of course, continued and participated in the inauguration, the swearing in, subject to the final recount, but he took no part at all in any relation to the actual process, because it would be a clear conflict.
And obviously, if the recount had different results, what would happen to the votes that she cast for certain ordinances?
Those would be remain valid because they're acted on under that process, and that's similar again to what the legislature does, because they have had similar instances where there have been members who have been elected, sworn in, take action, but are maybe subject to a recount or a further, dispute as to the election.
Thank you.
Is there any other questions from the alderman? Is there anybody from the audience wish to address the council regarding this matter? I would like to recognize Clerk Don Gray. We appreciate all you've done through the election process. So thank you very much. And Dwayne Gabb here from the Sangamon County Attorney's Office. We appreciate it. And way in the back is Village President Mayor Mike Lopez. So thanks for being here.
So
Alderman Hanauer.
I guess one other question I have is, so with Don here, do we actually conduct a recount, or can we, or does he conduct it? How's that whole process work? Because I think that, I don't know, to me, keeping it in his office where they have the election officials, they know the rules, they know, they have, I guess, better control of ballots. We don't want them going across streets and stuff like that. Just my opinion. Is it something that we can send back to allow them to be the, I guess, the administrator of it, or how's this work?
It's part of the procedures, so Corporation Counsel.
We will make a couple of recommendations or what the options are. The last time this occurred, the council ended up creating a special elections committee that actually supervised it. The count took place right here, literally
That
right
was
here.
when we had election commission here in the building, I think.
No,
or in
but
the other
that
building,
was because
right?
it was a city council. It's the same process. City council has to decide. It was an election challenge like this. And so I would say that we need to, there's been a lot of changes. Back then there were issues with chads, hanging chads, dented chads. So this is in some ways a lot simpler because of the optic scan. But what we will do is present the options on procedurally how to do that. I don't think the council can delegate the authority to the county, to do it. They may be able to participate in a process, maybe here, but that'll be subject to the rules. So the council will actually have to decide that. I mean, that'll be the council's, ultimate decision.
Alderman Proctor.
Yeah, so what if the two parties don't agree to the rules and procedures that the city council establishes on June 4th?
then they are going to be subject to whatever the council decides.
So they'd have to adhere by those rules and procedures, and then whatever result, the outcome.
That would be correct.
Alderwoman DeSenzo?
So we have no experience counting ballots, but we're going to handle the recount.
We will come up with the procedures and determine that. I would think last time they had individuals from each party participate. I mean, way back, we'll have that all outlined. I don't know if you remember.
Yeah,
Corporation Council.
the way the process worked the last time, actually the attorneys supervised the recount. In other words, they went through ballot by ballot, and somewhat like almost, I think, what happened with the Discovery recount, where they went ballot by ballot, and if a party objected, that ballot was then set aside, and if there was some reason. And so back then, I think my memory could be wrong, but my memory was that there were like 15 or 20 ballots that back then, because of the hanging chads, were actually in dispute, and the council then acted on those individual ballots, had to make a decision. And so the council technically doesn't really do the recount. You actually, the attorneys, it may well be that I'm trying to recall who actually had the custody at the time. It may have been the Springfield Election Commission. I don't really remember. But the ballots were literally brought, and then two attorneys in the presence of aldermen, if they chose to be there. I think, in fact, I found a photograph. I think Alderman Redpath was there. And so, but it's done in public, and each attorney has the opportunity to object, go through and look at each ballot, if it's a hand count.
But I think if we ask nicely, Don Gray might come over and oversee this and help us out with any kind of technical questions.
I was actually just going to ask if we could put Don as part of the committee by our choice, or your choice as alderman, if that would be, if an elected official from another part of municipal government would be an acceptable choice for the committee.
Yeah, that all has to be decided upon with the council. And going back to Alderman Hanauer's question, that's how complex this will be. I mean, there's a dozen ways you can formulate it, and so Corporation Council will work with both parties, come up with the acceptable process to them, and then bring it forward to the City Council on June 4th, if that's an acceptable date to everyone. Any other discussion or questions?
Just a point of
Alderman
clarification, Mayor. So if myself or Alderman Tylen or any of us up here have an idea, I guess now is the time to get that to Corporation Council.
Mm-hmm. Correct. Any other questions or discussion? Do we need to make a motion for the June 4th meeting?
If you would, yes, please, and also,
On the order?
also a motion just to approve the form of the agreed order, and then the parties will sign it, just to make
Is there a
sure.
motion to approve the agreed order with regards to the recount, the seating of the current certified candidate, and the June 4th special meeting?
So moved.
Been moved second. Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion, vote yes. Those opposed, vote no. The voting is now open. Or should we just?
Actually, it should just be a roll call.
Okay. Roll call vote.
Alderman Redpath.
Aye.
Alderman Senor.
Present.
Alderwoman Turner.
Aye.
Alderman Fulgenzi.
Aye.
Alderman Proctor.
Aye.
Alderwoman DeSenzo.
Aye.
Alderman McMiniman.
Aye.
Alderman Tylen.
Aye.
Alderman Donlin.
Yes.
Alderman Hanauer.
Aye.
9 yeses and 1 present.
Thank you. The order passes. Is there any unfinished business come before the City Council? Any new business? Motion to adjourn the special City Council meeting?
So moved.
Second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. We are adjourned till 5:30.
Man, a lot of people came for that.
I'm going to just get there.